What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Seven Figure Flipping Podcast. This is Bill Allen. On today's show, I have an amazing opportunity to tell one of our members' stories. Recently, I got the opportunity to fly down to Pensacola, Florida, and sit down with a good friend of mine and long-term Seven Figure Flipping member, Jansen McClendon, about his background, his upbringing, his journey into real estate, his family, everything that's going on right now with his son, Jace, and all the ups and downs of his investing career. And we made this video. We made a short video for Flip Hacking Live, and we made this video for him. And I want to put it out there so you guys can see what's possible in real estate, even with a challenging upbringing, a challenging background, and all kinds of problems that you face. And really what it is to persevere through all this and have a positive attitude. It can change everything for you. So I hope, I want to use this platform to share Jansen's story. It's really amazing. Hopefully have a massive call for prayers for his family and his son. So if you guys would do that for me, it'd be incredible. But I hope you guys enjoyed this show. And if it means something to you, if you guys get something from it, share it on social media, tell other people about it, let them know about Jansen's story. And this, like, it's a story of perseverance. It's a story of hope. And I'm really excited about putting this out on the show today. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know, share it as much as you can with some other folks that might need to hear this and might need to keep pushing if they're going through something hard. And I know that this family is, and their prayers, your prayers for them would mean a lot to them. So here's the show.
My name is Bill Allen, and I'm the leader of a group of elite house flippers and wholesalers called Seven Figure Flipping. We don't brag or show off our success, but instead let integrity and stewardship be our guide. We are dedicated to helping people unlock the freedom they desperately need. If you ask other real estate investors, they will say to keep your secrets quiet. But we believe in abundance, not scarcity, and that's why we are the elite. We are Seven Figure Flipping, and this podcast is our playbook.
So Jansen McClendon grew up in Gulf Breeze, Florida, here in the Panhandle. I've been here most of my life. What am I supposed to be looking at, you? Or okay, all right. Been here most of my life. Small town, grew up here. Had a little bit of a rough upbringing. We've talked a little bit about this before. It's a nice place, to live. But like when we were growing up, it was, it was rough how we lived. From kindergarten to the time I graduated high school, we bounced around, lived in like 13 different places. We'd move sometimes every few months, sometimes every year or two. We crashed with cousins, aunts, uncles, slept on floors, couches, doubled up in beds, kind of wherever. We had our own house sometimes, and, but it was like a whole bunch of just ups and downs. Dad was a Vietnam vet, PTSD, handled that stuff pretty rough, I guess, just didn't handle all that stuff well, I guess. And so he was alcoholic, addict, violent, and it was just a mess, man. So we lived in houses at times with didn't have power, didn't have water. I remember getting off the bus one day, we pulled up and a kid's like, "Hey, I didn't know you guys were moving." I was like, "I didn't know we were moving either." And I look up and there's a moving truck outside, and it's like, "Hey, get your stuff. We got to be out of here in a couple hours." It's like, "Oh, okay. Well, where are we going? We don't know yet." So we put everything in storage. There was times where we lost everything, like almost everything, and so it was just wild, man, just growing up. And so I didn't have any vision for the future because it was just how do I survive today, and so I didn't really didn't have a lot of hope. Dang it. Yeah, so early on, dude, just didn't have any hope, didn't have any vision of possibilities, of a future. And it took me a while. It took me a while to get to that place where I could see outside of it. Because everything I saw around me was just chaos, wreckage. And I just didn't know. I just didn't know if I could get out of that. But I wanted to. And so I got an opportunity one time. I sat down with my guidance counselor and she said, hey, look, you just failed 4 out of 7 classes for your junior year. And like, you're not going to graduate high school. Like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, are you going to go to college? I'm like, I never thought about college. And I'm like, we can't afford that anyway, And she's like, this is crazy, but if you could take night school, summer school, and retake some classes next year, if you got straight A's, you could actually get this scholarship. I was like, me? Like, dang it. Sorry.
I cry all the time. It's totally fine. Like, especially when I talk about my family, my life, all the stuff, like totally fine.
Well, I just started thinking about this, like being something, that I'll have. I was just trying to do this for you guys, but like, something for my kids.
Yeah.
So give me a sec, sorry.
For sure.
Oh, man. So anyway, so I got this idea that like, hey, maybe I could be something. Maybe I could do something. So I did. I took all these classes in night school and summer school, and I got all A's somehow, and I got this scholarship somehow. So I was like, man, this is it, dude. This is my ticket. This is my ride out of here. And so I got plugged in at USF in Tampa. It's the only college I applied to, and they accepted me, and so I got in there, and I was like, cool, man, I'm out of here. I just wanted to get out of here and just get away. I was like, if I could just get away, that'll fix everything, But it was kind of that like, wherever you go, there you are kind of thing. And I got down there and I realized, man, I had a ton of bad habits. I had a ton of issues I was dealing with myself, and it wasn't just everybody else that was the problem. So after a year, they decided I was not USF material anymore. And so they sent me packing, lost my scholarship, just kind of blew it. And anyway, so ended up back home, back here, trying to figure things out, working in restaurants, trying to go to school, because that's what I thought you're supposed to do. And, just kind of all in the middle of that. And my dad had just, gotten worse and worse off. And, he had been in and out of jail and all kinds of stuff. And then one day I got a phone call that, I'll back that up a little bit. It was Super Bowl, I'll never forget it, 2004, Patriots and the Panthers. And he had asked me if I wanted to watch the game with him. And I was just kind of like, yeah, sure, man, just kind of blew him off. And then he hits me up like that day, hey, you still coming over to watch the game? Well, at this point, we got people coming over to the house and stuff. And I was like, Dad, maybe at halftime. I'll call you at halftime, and just kind of blowing him off still. And so he messaged me at halftime, hey, you still coming over? And I never responded. And next day, I got a phone call that he had put a gun to his head and killed himself. And so I never talked to him again. And I spiraled at that point. I wasn't doing good, but it got a lot worse. So from 17 to 21, I got arrested 5 times. Nothing major, but I was just in and out of jail for stupid stuff, just drinking, doing drugs, really just at rock bottom, man. And I was probably like my lowest of lows in that period. And, but God had a plan. So when I was 16, just by accident, going through some old family photos, I came across this picture and I was like, who's this guy? There's a baby picture. I'm like, who is this guy? It looks just like my dad, but I could tell it's like not from the 50s. And so my mom's like, you don't know who that is? And I was like, no, who is this? She's like, that's your brother. And I was like, brother who? What brother? It's not my brother. She's like, you've got a brother and sister in Texas. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And so I That's how I found out by accident that I have another brother and sister that live in Texas, older. And, we talked about it, but then it just never came up again. It was like, that was on Christmas Eve, and then it was like the day after Christmas, I remember our power got turned off, and we went like 3 months with no electricity, and I was like, it was just bad, man. And so I just kind of like buried that, and it never came up again. And then at my dad's funeral, I'm 19 years old, at my dad's funeral, I walk in, and there, my brother and sister, dang it. I walk in, my brother and sister are in the front row. And so that's where I met my brother and sister for the first time, is in the front row of my dad's funeral. And so I didn't know it at the time, man, but that was just like this pivotal moment. I'm gonna get it together here in a minute, guys. So I meet my brother and sister, and I didn't really get to know them then, but like over the next year or two, I got to know them, and like all of a sudden, like I have this hope. I'm like, man, thanks, Steve, appreciate it. So I have this hope. All of a sudden, I have this hope because I get to know them, and I'm like, man, you guys are normal. So you guys are married, and you have kids, and you have like regular jobs, and you're like, seem to be doing pretty good, like, and you're related to me. And so this is a first, because everybody that's related to me is like just not doing good, And so like I had this hope. I'm like, maybe I could just get outside of these circumstances, maybe I could change these circumstances and I could change my life. And so I just started having this hope that maybe I could be something, It's kind of like that spark. I had a little bit of that spark my senior year of high school, but I didn't know what it was going to take, I didn't really know what it was going to take to change. I didn't know what it was going to take to turn that around. And so I got this glimpse again, but this time I started to realize like what it was going to take. Like it's going to take not my circumstances changing, but like me changing. I needed to change. And so I started, over time, it took me a while, but over time I started working on myself. I started working on, what I could do, what I could control. And I remember I'm sitting in the probation office one time, and I'm looking around at everybody, and I'm thinking, I'm like, I don't belong here. I'm not like these people. And this was the 5th time I'd gotten arrested, and this time it was a little more serious. It was a felony I was being charged with this time, not a convicted felon. I was able to, work that out, but it was more serious this time. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, I'm not like these people. And then it's like this voice is like, then why are you here? And I'm like, then it hit me. It's like, I'm here because of my choices. I'm here because of what I've done, not because of what somebody else did. It's choices that I've made. And so it just hit me hard. And I realized, I'm like, I've got to start owning some stuff. I've got to start stepping up, man. Like this is not everybody else's fault. Nobody's coming to save me. Like I've got to fix this. I got to do this myself. And so I started making some changes. And I think I may have told you this story before. This is silly, but like, I remember I'm watching like daytime television one day. I don't know why this is like this impactful thing, but I'm watching Judge Mathis, and he's talking about how, growing up, he was like on the streets of Detroit, and he's like in this gang, and he had a really rough upbringing. And what he realized was like, he used to think like, he ended up getting to like law school, and nobody's like him, It's like well-to-do, they got good parents, good homes, all this stuff. And he's thinking like everything that he's been through, his whole past is like this weakness. But he realizes one day that it's a strength. Like, he's like, nobody here has been through what I've been through. Nobody here, knows what it's like to go through what I've been through. And he's like, I changed that weakness to a strength, and I started leveraging that. And that hit me, man. I don't know why. That one thing just stuck with me. I'm like, so it was like this paradigm shift. It's like, okay, so this stuff in my past, it's not what makes me weak. It's what makes me strong. And I can actually take this and leverage this into something, I started realizing, that like, maybe that stuff has a purpose, maybe there's a plan for that, and I can use it. I'm just not using it. And so I started using those things. I started using my past to push me forward, to kind of propel me forward. And it took time. It took time. So I decided, at 23, I decided, man, I don't, this college thing is not for me. After 5 years and getting a 2-year degree, it's probably not my cup of tea. And I don't really like necessarily working for other people. I want to do my own thing. So I was like, dude, I bet I could start my own business. I was working for this guy making $11.50 an hour and cutting grass. And I was like, dude, I bet I could do this on my own. I've got a truck. What if I bought a lawnmower? What if I bought a trailer? I could do this on my own. And so I found a way to do that. I hustled up some money. I maxed out a credit card. I borrowed some money, and I bought a lawnmower and a trailer, and I started a lawn business. And my goal at the time was to make more than $11.50 an hour. That was literally my goal. I'm like, if I could just make more than $11.50 an hour and have my own business, like I'm winning, And so I did that, and I started working, just going knocking on doors and hanging door hangers. Like, who needs their grass cut? I'll do it for $25. And then I was like, okay, I got to raise my prices a little bit, And so I was just hustling, dude. Every day I'm just knocking doors and just cutting grass solo, and I just remember thinking, like, I got this shot. And I was like, I'm making the most of this shot. And so that's what I did. And so I was like, dude, I'm making the most of this shot. So I just kept hustling, just kept grinding. It was hard. I was just learning hard lessons, man. School of hard knocks. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no real mentors at that time. I was just bootstrapping it. And it took me a while, but I started gaining some traction. After a year or two, I had some regular clients. Ended up, I hired my brother to come help me part-time, and I started building it up. And then, after 3-4 years, I started the business 2008. And then by like 2012, I had a couple guys working for me. We had, a nice rig, and I was making decent money. I was making more than $11.50 an hour, and I was feeling good about it. But then I started thinking for the first time, like, what's next? What's next? And I didn't know what was next. And as I'm looking around, I'm seeing all the guys who are, in these lawn trucks and running these lawn crews, and like, the older you get, man, the harder it gets. And so I just started thinking, I'm like, man, where does this go from here? I didn't really know. But I'd read this book. I'd read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's the only book I read, like, post high school. And it blew my mind, but I didn't know what to do with it. I'm like, man, this is interesting, but like, what do I do with this? So like, at this time, I'm still kind of just thinking, like, man, what next? Where am I going from here? I still just didn't know. And at the same time, we started making some changes in our life. I started realizing, like, man, something's happening here, because like, there's things happening that I just couldn't explain. It's like, yeah, I was making better choices. Yeah, I was starting to live right and live better, but like, I just kept getting blessed with these things that like I just could not explain. And I'm just seeing things line up in my life, and I'm seeing how I'm able to just connect the dots of my past to like where I'm at now. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what it is, but it seems like there's like something else out there. There's somebody else out there looking out for me, And I remember I came home one day and I was like, told Melissa, I was like, we should go to church. And she's like, what? She's like, I never thought I heard you, I'd hear you say that in my life. And I was like, I know it sounds crazy, but like, we should go to church one day. And she's like, okay, let's do it. And so we started going to church, and like dude, just everything started changing for me then. Like I'd gone through this growth, but it wasn't explosive. It was steady, but it wasn't explosive. And that's when I entered this period of like what I would call like explosive growth. We started going to church, and I started just like learning and realizing so many things about my life and just so many things about God, and just realizing, man, that like, I never thought he was there. I never believed in God, and I never saw any of that before. But looking back, I'm like, wow, dude, he was there the whole time. Like he was lining stuff up the whole time that I had no idea, And so, so finally I started seeing that. My eyes were open to that. And now I was like, I got more hope in the future. Like, man, I could really do something. I could really do something with my life. And now at this point I've got kids, and I'm realizing, dude, this isn't all about me. That's one of the best revelations I had, was like, this is not all about me. I can really do something with my life that's going to impact my kids' life, my family, people around me. And so I started thinking different. Like, man, this isn't all about me. It's bigger than me. And I got turned on to Audible books. That was the next thing that happened. Like, you're on the lawnmower all day, you're weed eating stuff all day, and I'm just listening to music all day, every day. And somebody's like, man, you ever heard of audible.com? And I was like, no, what's that? They're like, it's audiobooks. I'm like, man, that sounds terrible. It sounds boring, but they're like, you should check it out. There's a lot of different books you can read on there instead of listening to music. And I was like, it was my brother from Texas that had that. And I was like, okay, I'll check that out. So I was always like a slow reader, like I still am. Paper books and stuff I struggle with. And I was like, this is interesting. So I bought a book and I listened to it, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Like, I learned a lot from it. I'm just at work, just listening to this book. And so I bought another one. And next thing you know, like, I've got like an expensive book habit, and I start just buying these books. I got this membership. The membership's not enough. So like, I'm running through my credits, and then I'm buying more books. And so then I start finding out about like all these business books. I bought the E-Myth, and then I bought Rich Dad Poor Dad again. I listened to that. I started buying leadership books and business books, just all these different things that really just started expanding my mind and just blowing my mind. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. I never knew this stuff even existed, and it's just been like right here the whole time. I could have accessed it. It's right there the whole time. And now all of a sudden, boom, here it is. So I was like, at one point I was listening to like a book a day. And because you're on the lawnmower, it's mindless work, just cutting grass. And you're on the lawnmower, or weed went for like 8 hours a day. And I mean, that's like a whole audio book. So I start cranking through these books, and eventually like it got too expensive. So I go back, I start re-listening to old books, And dude, that was a game changer for me. I went like in a year, I read like 60, 70 books, or a year and a half or something. And my mind just started expanding, and I started thinking big for like the first time in a long time. Started thinking like really big. I'm like, dude, I could really do something, but what's it gonna be? And as I looked at my landscape business, I looked at my lawn business, I was like, this isn't it. Like, this isn't where I want to be, And so, growing up, my dad was in construction, and my brother and I, we were always kind of like slave labor for him growing up, So I was like in and around construction a lot. And then my mom had bought a foreclosure one time, and I was living with her when I was like on probation and all this. And I helped her fix it all up. I wanted to learn the stuff. So like, she would hire people to come do work. Like, she hired a flooring guy, and I was like, dude, I'll help you for free. Just teach me how to lay floors. And a tile guy, I was like, dude, I'll help you teach me how to lay tile and cabinets, countertops. I was just like a sponge for all this stuff. I'm like, just teach me. I just want to learn this stuff. And so I learned it all, but then I didn't know what to do with it. And so then I started thinking, I'm like, man, what if I could flip a house? maybe like in the off season of landscaping, maybe I could flip a house. That'd be cool. So I start planning that, I start thinking about that. I start telling people about it. I'm like, I'm going to start flipping houses. I'm going to flip my own house first, and I'm going to sell it. And I'll show it to you guys. It's actually right down the street. And I was like, I'm going to flip this house. I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to take that money, and then I'm going to start flipping houses, and we could do 1 a year. Dude, maybe we could grow and do 2 a year. Who knows? And so I start telling people about this, and there's this guy I knew. I start telling him, I'm like, dude, I'm going to start flipping houses. And he was always like, kind of rooting for me, this guy, and he saw me growing up my lawn business, and he saw me hustling, like hanging door hangers and putting up yard signs, and just always just hustling and grinding. And so when I started telling him about this, it piqued his curiosity. And one day he's like, man, hey, let's talk. I want to talk about this house flipping thing. And I was like, okay. So we sit down one day at this McDonald's up the street, and we sit down, and he's like, how would you feel if I said I had some money I could loan you to flip houses? And I was like, well, that'd be cool. Like, what kind of money are we talking about? And he's like, I've got about $400,000 I could loan you. And I'm like, dude, sign me up. Like, you'll loan me $400,000? I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And so, like, on a little McDonald's napkin, we wrote up a little business plan of how we were going to do this, and we decided we're going to start flipping some houses. He was going to fund them, I was going to flip them. And so 2016, we started this business, and we bought our first house on a foreclosure auction, and learned a ton. I did almost all the work myself. We learned a lot about how HOAs work and HOA liens, Holly by the Sea. I guess the first thing I should say is, first thing I did, I just started studying and watching. I'm like, who's doing this at a high level? I just want to watch them. So I'm looking on these auctions, and I found the companies that are buying on the auctions, and a lot of these guys. It was like Beta Gulf Holdings and Florida Investors Capital, and I'm like, I just started studying them and pretty much just stalking these guys. Like, I'd see everything they were buying, what they bought it for, what they sold it for. I drove by their houses, talked to their contractors. I looked at what all they did to the houses, and I just started just like watching. And then in the meantime, I'm still, man, we're still a little scared, but we finally pulled the trigger on this house. We buy one on the auction, and we ended up, we remodeled the whole thing, and in the end, we ended up getting stuck with like a $6,000 HOA lien that we had to pay off that we didn't know about. But we bought it, we fixed it, flipped it, we sold it, and I made $16,000. And I was like, this is it, dude. This is the biggest paycheck I've ever gotten in my life. Like, this is it. Let's do it again. And so we bought another house. So that first year, we bought 2 houses. I was like, man, this is cool. I wonder if we could do 6 houses next, And so the next year, that's what we ended up doing. The next year we did 6 houses. And I'm like, man, I wonder if we could do like a dozen, And we just started like building it up, and over time I'm cutting grass during the day still. I'm running that business during the day, and I'm working on houses at night, and I'm just juggling that stuff and trying to figure out and I got a family, and we're just trying to figure all that stuff out. And over time I was like, this real estate's my path. Like this is my shot to really, get to that next level. Like this is my vehicle that I could use, to really make an impact in the world, in my family, And I was like, I want to just go all in on this. So we ended up selling our landscape business and just going all in real estate. But it started just getting like harder and harder to find deals, around like 2017, 2018. It just got, more and more difficult to find good deals. And so I was trying to figure out how do we find more deals? And so that's how I found out about you guys. And and somebody had like sent me a link for Flip Hacking Live, and I had a goal for 2018 to go to a real estate conference, and that was it. It was just go to a real estate conference. And so it's like halfway through the year, I haven't gone to one yet, and I find out about Flip Hacking Live, and I'm like, dude, maybe we could do that. So I talked to Melissa. I was like, hey, would you want to fly out there with me? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. And so I had been to another real estate conference before, and it was just like these guys just like selling hard, you know. It was just like just high pressure sales. You could just tell it wasn't really about like the person. It was just about them, you know, selling that membership and getting that money. And I just figured it was going to be like that, you know, but I was hoping like we could learn some things and then just go from there. And so we came out, and I just remember the first day, just getting my mind blown, dude. And I'll never forget, like when Andy McFarland spoke, that was the one that like really got me. Like I get there, I'm like, dude, this is the real deal. Like these people here, like these are good people. And I remember Andy talking about, he's like, he said, I'll never forget this line he used. He said, we use, and he's teaching sales. He goes, we use an old school tactic. It's called actually caring about people. And I was like, dude, I love that, you know, because like we actually care about people, you know, and you come across so many people that don't, you know, and I was just like, man, I want to be in this. I found out you guys have a group, you know, I just thought it was a seminar, you know, and I find out it's this group, and I was just like, dude, I want to be a part of this group. How do I get to be a part of this group? You know, and so that's when I started. Like I'd seen you in the gym like the day before, and I was like, man, he's the guy I need to talk to. So I was like, I'm getting up and going to the gym again in the morning, you know? So like I get up and I'm in there like talking to you and getting to know you, and I was just like, man, I don't know if they'll let me in, you know, but like maybe they will, you know. So I remember talking to Bill, and I was like, hey man, I'm in your market. So like, what does that look like? I want to be in the group, but what does that look like? And I remember, you know, you're just honest with me. You're just like, I don't know, you know, I don't know what that looks like. And I was like, yeah, I was thinking that might be a little bit of an issue, you know, it's like a conflict of interest kind of thing. And anyway, so we started talking about that and just kind of bouncing back and forth. I was like, well, I want in. And I remember you're like, okay, you know, I'm going to have to talk with some people. I'm going to have to think about it. I'm like, yeah, that's understandable. I get it. And, you know, then it gets down to the last day of the event, and we get all the way down to the end. And I just remember thinking like, dude, I got to make an impression on this guy before I leave, you know? So like we waited in the line, Melissa and I, and to get up there, you know, on the stage and talk to you at the end. And like, I just didn't want you to forget me. Like I wanted you to know, like, I want in, like I want to be a part of this. And, you know, it's not like I was trying to impress you or anything. I just wanted you to know, like, I wanted this. Like, I want this. I want to be in. And, you know, if nothing else, like, at least you know that. You know what I mean? It's your decision to make, and I respect it, but, like, I want in. And so, you know, we talked to you and we left, and you're like, you know, I'll get with you. And, you know, I'll get with you when we get back, and we'll talk and we'll figure things out. So this is like, you know, October, and then, you know, a couple weeks go by and I haven't heard anything. And then a couple more go by, and I'm like, all right, we're not getting in. But I'm like, that's okay. You know, like, we'll find a way, you know, we'll take a different path. And a couple more weeks go by, and I get this text, and it's like, hey, do you still want in? And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, yes, yes, I want in. And you're like, all right, man, you know, you're in. And I was just like, so fired up, you know? And, cause I just knew, like, I was like, I'm getting another shot. This is another big shot. And I'm not throwing away this shot. You know, I want to make the most of this. And so, we came into the group, man, and just everything changed. I remember somebody saying one time, if you want to be a millionaire, the fastest way to get there is to hang out with billionaires. It's just that, get around people that are on the higher level than you, and just be a sponge and just soak it up, And so I'm like, man, this is my opportunity to do this. Like I didn't really know anybody that was doing what I wanted to be doing. I started having this vision that, man, we could take this thing to new heights. We could flip 15, 20 houses a year. Maybe we could flip 30 houses a year. Who knows? But I didn't know anybody that was doing that. So we get in that room of like all these people that are doing it, and I was like, I gotta be in here. And from there, we got into this, to our next, like I would call explosive growth season. It took a minute for me to really like find my footing. Like one of the first things I experienced is kind of some of those old demons coming back, some of those old voices of like, hey, you're not like these people, that they're different. They're different. These guys are smarter than you. These girls, like they've got it figured out. You don't. Just kind of this like you don't belong kind of thing. Like you're not good enough. And I started believing that for a minute. I started like comparing myself and thinking like, because like I came in thinking I'm like, dude, I flipped 6 houses. I'm the man. And then I get in here and it's like this guy's like, yeah, I flipped 100 last year. And I'm like, oh wow. Okay, and so I start doing this comparing thing, and it took me a while to work through that and really just find my footing, but then I just got back to that same place of like, dude, everything in my past has prepared me for this, and I can use that, I can leverage that. Like if I can go through everything that I've been through, then I can do this too. And so I really just started shifting my mindset again and started shifting my beliefs again. And then we just started taking off. And, we took our business from that 6 flips to 12 flips to 20 flips to 30 to 40 flips a year. And it's kind of about the pace we're at now. It's about like that 40-ish flips a year. And, I started out doing it solo. We've got a team of 10 now. Just hired a COO about 10 months ago to come in and start, helping run like our day-to-day operations. And it's been really cool. Just been like growing a ton, as a leader, realizing that like, it's just not all about me again. This business is not all about me. It's not all just about my family either. It's about these people that work for me. It's about their families, and I started just kind of letting go of some of my control issues and started letting other people, take over things that maybe they could be better at, or maybe, they could be almost as good at, whatever. I started just like letting go more and trusting other people more, and started working to try and like build and develop other people, and that's kind of where we're at now, is just trying to like develop and grow leaders, and like this house that we're in right now, this is actually my first time seeing it with all the furniture and everything. We've got a team that does all this stuff, and it's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit. Like I don't need to get the credit anymore, like I want these guys to win. I want my team to win, and I want everybody around me to win. And that's all stuff that I learned a lot just in 7FF, from just being around like the right people, those right like high level leaders, who just people who weren't just all about themselves, and so that's kind of where we're at now.
How long have you been in the group, and why did you stay that long?
That's a good question. Well, I remember in the beginning when you let me in, I told you, I'm never leaving. You're going to have to kick me out. And so I mean that. And, you will have to kick me out at some point if I'm not going to leave. But I think it's just the relationships, that's really what it's all about. I've gotten a ton out of the events, out of the trainings, out of the teachings, but it's the relationships that have meant the most to me. And I have friends from this group that like are going to be friends for life, and So I really think that's been probably the biggest thing that's held me in, is just those relationships.
How long have you been in the group?
We've been in the group 5 years now.
Do you want anything else from the beginning till now?
I think,
I got a couple more things. Joseph Drew, the Drews had their baby 3 days ago. He just sent me a picture.
Nice.
Show you after. So you've had some personal things going on with your son and your family and stuff like that. If you're open to it,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind talking about that and maybe like how, like, I just go into that a little bit. Maybe like, how is your business, the way your business is set up now, is allowing you to be there.
Yeah.
Because before you start, like, dude, so I'll probably cry at this point. So when I was living here, and I was flying airplanes, and we found out that James needed surgery. Like, I had a business that was making good money. I had a team that I wasn't sure was capable of running things without me, but I knew that for probably 6 months I needed to move to Nashville. And like, we weren't in Chattanooga or Nashville or anywhere else. We were just in Pensacola. And I was able to buy a house, pay cash, find money in it, make an offer, pay cash, move in 7 days, pack up all my stuff, all the military training I've had, moving things. 7 days, move into the house, and be there. And the team was running things here. And like, I had the knowledge, I had the money, I had the experience, I had all the things. Like, God had totally prepared me for what I needed to do. And it took like all that. So as I'm listening to your story, I'm like, holy crap, like, you were prepared for this. And so it's just like I believe that's true.
Yeah.
Because had any of that stuff happened to me before, I wouldn't have known what to do. Like, I had to move 18 times before I could move the 19th time.
Yeah.
I had to have a business that was kicking out $1 million to be able to do this. Like, so maybe a little of that, because there's probably somebody in the audience who's going through something hard right now and doesn't know that they're prepared for it, or are being prepared for it, or have already been prepared for it, and they can handle it. And so I'm sure, I still don't think I wanted to or should have had to handle it, but like, you're in the thick of it right now. But, like, your whole life is prepared for this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I believe that. And so yeah, just that idea of like, everything in your past has prepared you, for where you are in your present. It's easy to say that, but like, once you've seen that like come to fruition, over and over, life is meant to be lived forwards, but it can only be understood backwards. And so you look back and you can connect those dots and you can see, wow, look how everything lined up. Look how everything prepared me for this. And so, I don't know what the future holds, but I know that if everything, has lined up like this to this point, then I can trust that it's going to line up, again in the future, right? So, man, going back to, we joined 7FF, and for the first time, I get this idea. I had no concept of like a COO, or no concept of this idea that like you could have people running your business and you not be there all the time. Like, that was a foreign concept to me, as far as, especially in the house flipping business. So 7FF gave me this vision of like, oh wow, I could get to a place where like I could work remotely. And so we started planning for this. We started planning this big summer RV trip. I wanted to do a whole year. I wanted to pull the kids out and homeschool for a year. And Melissa's like, I cannot be in an RV with you for a year. And I was like, that's understandable. So we settled on a summer. And we start thinking, I'm like, how do we do that? How do we get to where, I could be gone for a summer? And so this is like 2019, we start thinking about this. In 2019, we start thinking, okay, we need to start like getting our business to where like we could work remotely, but how do we do that? Well, we don't really know just yet. So we waited. And then COVID hits, and COVID's like, for a lot of people, that whole pandemic time was really tough. I mean, it was tough for our business. It was scary, right? COVID hits and it forces everyone to go remote. It forces us to have a remote business. We all start working from home all of a sudden. And at first I'm like, oh man, this is weird. And then I'm like, wait a second, isn't this what I wanted? Isn't this what I wanted? I wanted to find a way to have this remote business. And so this next hardship, COVID, forced us into that place. And so it's, that's like this theme I see in my life of these difficulties forced me to grow. And if it weren't for those difficulties, I wouldn't have grown. I wouldn't have, if I didn't face those challenges, I wouldn't be the person that I am now. So you start to, over time, you start to see these challenges. It's easier to see it looking back, hindsight's 20/20, but over time you start to see these challenges in the present and you can recognize, hey, this is a growth opportunity here. Like this is an opportunity for something good here. And so we learned during that 2020 period, how to start running our company more remote. And so we started hiring people, that worked from home and that sort of thing. And so we worked through that period, and then fast forward, we're working towards, trying to get more time freedom, more financial freedom. And then everything seems to be just going great. We're on a little family vacation at the end of the summer, 2021. And then all of a sudden my son starts acting funny. My youngest son, he's 6 years old at the time. He starts walking funny. He starts talking funny. And we're like, man, what's going on here? And so we go to bed that night, we get up the next day and he's fine. We're like, okay, well, that was kind of weird. And then that afternoon it starts again. He starts walking funny, talking funny again. We're like, something's not right here. What's going on? We check his temperature. He had been sick, maybe that's it. But we're like, man, this is weird. We go to bed. So we go to bed that night. We get up again the next day. He's fine again. And then it hits again around lunchtime. And we're like, we got to go. So we call the doctor and they're like, you guys need to get to an emergency room. And so we're in Georgia at the time. So we decided, we're like, hey, we think we can get home. So we drove home to Pensacola. We're in the ER and we're like, hey, something's not right. And they're like, we don't know what's going on. Like, we have no idea. And they're like, our suggestion would be you guys go to Shands in Gainesville. And so we work to try to get a referral over there. And we spend not too long, about 36 hours trying to hey, we need to get there soon, and just back and forth. And we couldn't get anywhere. Finally, I was like, I'm just going. We're just going to show up, pack a suitcase, we're going. And I remember showing, and this is during the COVID time, so it's like they only let one parent in there. Me and him show up with a suitcase, and I'm like, I'm not leaving until I got some answers. Something's not right. I need to know what's going on with my kid. And so we were there all day, and finally had a breakthrough. After talking to a half dozen different doctors, running all sorts of tests, they come back and they're like, we think we know what's going on. And so that was the day, August 6, 2021. Jace got diagnosed with myasthenia gravis. It's a neuromuscular disease that affects really just kind of the muscle function in the body. It's got intermittent symptoms that come and go, and that kind of explains why we were seeing that. He'd wake up in the morning, everything was fine, and then he wasn't, and it was back and forth. And so anyway, and that it just rocked our world, man. Everything changed. Everything got turned upside down. Our kids were just perfectly healthy up to that point, and so we then we began, going down this path of medical treatments, and they tell us, hey, let's get them on this medicine first, and then let's start doing these infusions, and the best thing would be to have this surgery, and so we start getting all these things lined up, and at the time, like, there's so much uncertainty, we have no idea, what all. We just don't really know what to expect. This is all new to us, and we're in a bit of shock too, and so we just start working through that. Through that, I'm forced to pull away from the business. I'm forced to step out some, because I've got to be there. I've got to be there with my family. Thankfully at that point we had a team. We had started working more remotely. We had started, delegating more things and hiring more people. So I had this ability at that time, to be with him. And so we had some hope at that time. We're like, hey, if we can just do these things, we could be looking at, in the next 6 months or so, maybe 12 months, he could be in remission, he could be better. And unfortunately, it just kept getting worse. It just kept getting worse. And so we just kept going through treatments. We did the surgery. And just no results. And so it's this tough place to be, of like, I'm putting in the work and I'm not getting the results, but just kept coming back to that place of like, I know everything has prepared us for this moment. I know that, if we keep putting in the work, like, the results will come. If we keep putting in the work, the results will come. And so I just kept kind of clinging to that, man, and just trusting God that, like, he had a plan, he was working it out. And, for a little while, we start feeling sorry for ourselves. We start, self-pity kind of thing. We start having that, those voices in your head, kind of thing starts coming back. And I'm just like, no, we just can't allow that. And so I felt I had to step up for my family and just be the one to just bear that load, And so that's what I did, man. And because I just knew that, like, this was bigger than us. I started thinking, like, it's like, Aaron Hale, right? Aaron, he says something that really resonates with me. Instead of, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening for me? And why is this happening for me, for them? It's bigger than me. It's bigger than us. And so really just started focusing on that. Like, why are all these things happening? There is a plan for this. There is a purpose for this. Like, God is shaping us into something. He's trying to do something through this that we can't see. And I don't want to miss it. I just don't want to miss it. Because I'm self-absorbed or just worrying about me. And so, I went through this period of, like, I had to step out of the business, and I gave up more control than I wanted to, faster than I wanted to, because I had to, so it was another one of those things where it's like, a tough time forces you to grow. It forces you to grow. And so, that's kind of that season we went through with that. And, what we hoped was going to be, a 6-month thing or a 12-month thing, turned into 18 months and now 24 months. And, unfortunately, it's only gotten worse. But, over time, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. I believe that. But in the meantime, I started to see, like, hey, I'm going to need more help. I'm going to need more help, because when I'm out, the people can run acquisitions. They can flip houses, but they don't have the leadership that they need because I'm absent. And so I ended up hiring a COO. And we're still planning for our big RV trip. I'm not letting go of that. I'm like, dude, we're doing this, like, we're taking this summer off. It's happening. And so I'm going to need some help. And I want to make sure my team had the people that they needed, the person that they needed to lead and guide. And so back in November, right after Flip Hacking Live, hired that guy and brought him in, spent 6 months just onboarding him, bringing him up to speed. And I told him, in the beginning, I'm like, hey, I got one condition of bringing you on. You have to be 100% ready to go by May, because I'm going to be gone all summer. Because we've had this on the calendar. I've been talking to the kids about it forever. Like, we're doing it. I can't let them down, And so, am I answering your question? I don't remember. So yeah, we just started working towards that summer of like me being gone, and just relying on my team to run everything while I was gone. And it's been a really cool experience, been a humbling experience, like growing these people up and just trying to get to that next level of my journey of like getting to a place where I'm not just like building followers, I'm not just building employees, but like I'm building leaders. I'm trying to build leaders within our team, people who have the same values, who have the same work ethic and integrity and treat it like I would treat it, treat our business like I would treat it, and been working to just try and build those right people. And so yeah, if it wasn't for all that, if it wasn't for everything I'd been through, we wouldn't have that team, and I wouldn't be able to take a summer off. And there's the old saying, like, tell God your plans and he laughs, So I had these plans for this summer. Like, I just knew there was something to it. There was something to this summer. It was going to be big. I don't want to say always, but for a long time, I've just had this vision, my name is, it's important to me. And my boys are the last two, they're the last generation with my name. There's nobody else with my same last name left in our family. And so the family tree runs through us. And so it's like, it's a responsibility, of mine. It's an opportunity of mine to change my family tree. It's my duty, and that goes through them, and so, for some reason, this summer felt like it was like a big part of that. Like a big part of that shaping of the tree, me changing my family tree. And I've just had this vision for years now of like, not just changing the next generation, but changing the next 10 generations. Dang it. Changing the next 10 generations of my family, through my choices, through my actions, through the things that I was willing to take on, not for me, but for them. And I'm trying to grow to a point where it's like the things that I've done make an impact, with people I've never met and places I've never been, with time that I've never lived in. That's the goal that I have. Like, I wanna leave an impact like that. Not just the people that I meet, like I want to impact them. Not just the people, that work for me, like I want to impact them, but like I want to have an impact that's so big that it's felt with people I've never met and places I've never been and times that I've never lived in. That's the kind of impact that I want to leave, and I know I can only do that like through other people, and especially like through my kids, those two. And so that's what this summer was about, to me. But it was a lot different than what I thought it was going to be. So, Jace's health had declined, so we had to make some changes to our plans. We decided like we couldn't just plan a whole summer and we couldn't do a whole summer in the RV. We had to pivot a little bit because some things changed, and we decided, really the most we could plan for now would be about a couple of weeks, and so we planned out 17 days. We bought this cool van, and we decided to tour America. We went up to Canada, over to Maine, and worked our way back down the East Coast, and just got to spend 17 days just living, and spending quality time with those guys and with my wife. And the last day we had a doctor's appointment, and we stopped off in Gainesville to see his doctor and get some blood work done and get him checked up on. And we just kind of had this realization at that point, like, she's like, guys, this is not good. Like, he's significantly worse than the last time I saw him. And we got some blood tests back later on that showed like his antibody levels were like the highest they'd ever been. And it's just not good. And so we went home, just not really knowing, what to do or where to go from there. But I was like, I know this summer is set aside for something. Like, maybe this is just what we got to be focusing on right now. We just need to go all in on this right now. And so, like, I'm getting ready. I'm lining up more doctors, and I'm lining up more, visits to different places to try and figure out, like, what can we do with this. And then, man, he just started declining like pretty quick. He got sick, and next thing you know, like, we had to call 911. They come in. Gosh, dude, I remember just pulling in to 2 fire trucks and, a dozen people in my living room. And, man, they saved his life and took him, to the ER in Pensacola. They life flighted him over to Gainesville. We met them over there, and then, we ended up spending 25 days over there in the hospital, just getting treatments done. We had another surgery done. Just trying to get him better. And I never, for those 25 days, I never left that place. I never had to, and I just wanted to be there with him. And, thank God I was able to do that. Like, for the first time in my life, I had that opportunity. Like, I could be there with him and not be worried about, how do I pay my bills? How do we keep the lights on? How do we keep the business running? And so, I could have taken a break. I could have left, but I just wanted to be there. I just wanted to be there with him. I wanted him to know that, like, that he wasn't alone, that I would do anything for him, But I wouldn't have had that opportunity, if it wasn't for everything that we had been through, that led us to that place. And so I just knew, like, in that moment, it was, gosh. Man, it's crazy because it was like one of the hardest things that I've been through in my life. But it was this time where I just had, like, so much peace, because I knew, man, that, like, this was just all part of a bigger plan and a bigger purpose. And I was like, I'm not going to let myself get sucked into this self-absorption again. I'm not going to let myself get sucked in, to making this all about me again. It's not all about me. And so that's just what I started focusing on. I was scared. I was worried. I didn't know what to do, but I knew that there was a plan, and I knew that there was a purpose for it. And so I just focused on that, and I just started focusing on the fact that, hey, not why is this happening to me, but why is this happening for me? Why is this happening for me, for them? And not just my family, but I'm like, who else is going through storms? You know, who else is dealing with difficulty? How can I help them? Maybe there's people dealing with something right now way harder. Maybe it's something, you know, they're facing that's like, maybe it's not that bad, but maybe they just haven't been through what I've been through, you know, so they don't know how to handle it. So I'm like, man, maybe I could turn this around. Maybe I could use this, you know, as a platform to just impact people. And so I've been posting and updating people about Jace, and I noticed, man, like how many people are responding and how many people are tuning in. And it's just like this voice, it's like, that's an opportunity for you, you know? That's an opportunity for you to step up and serve them and impact them. And so I just started just trying to just take that, shift my focus from inward to outward. Like, how do I use this, you know, to help other people? And so I just started like talking a lot and just writing a lot about everything we were going through and experiencing, and just trying to use that as a way to just help somebody, to just serve somebody, to just impact somebody. And dude, that's really what got me through it. It's just like, this is not all about me, you know? This is way bigger than me. And it's way bigger, you know, than us. It's way bigger than just our family. You know, it's easy to say, like, our mission statement, our company mission statement is to impact the world through real estate. And it's easy to say that, you know, it's easy to talk that, but what does that actually look like? You know, I said, I want to impact people in places I've never been, you know, people I've never met, time I've never spent. Well, what does that look like? I'm like, maybe this is what it looks like. You know, maybe I can do that right here, right now. I'm stuck in this hospital, you know, but I got a phone, you know, I've got an outlet. Like, that's all I got is this iPhone, you know, but what can I do with it? And so I just started focusing on that, man. And that's just what carried us through. And that's still just kind of where we find ourselves today, man. It's like, and it's tough. We got back home and we're thinking, man, hopefully, and that's what we just kept telling ourselves. Hopefully all this work we're putting in, you know, all this work we're putting in, it's going to get us results. It's going to get us results. It's coming. You know, we did these procedures, we did this surgery, it's coming. And then we find out, you know, that the treatments that we did, you know, just didn't work like they had hoped. The surgery that we did, it was a bust. It was a swing and a miss. And it's like, boom, okay. So, you know, 2-3 days of like, dang it, man. What now? You know, what now? Where do we go now? And it's like, same thing as always. Same thing as always. Just like, we just got to keep moving forward. You know, we just got to keep moving forward. What's the next step that we can take? What's that next step that we can take? You know, we have opportunities in front of us still. That's a good place to be. I have opportunities in front of me. I didn't have those at times in my life. I've got opportunities in front of me. That's a good place to be. I want to make the most of this shot. So what do? Get back to work. We start calling doctors. We start, you know, getting more things lined up. Start researching, start learning more and more, digging deeper and deeper. Let's get outside of the box. You know, what can we do? And, you know, I got to see too, just how much my team stepped up when I was gone, how much they cared while I was gone, and realizing like, man, I need to just keep pouring into them. I need to keep pouring into them. And so I've been just focusing a ton on that lately, you know, just trying to build them up, because it's a good chance I might have to check out again, you know. We're going back to the hospital next week, and I don't know what's next for us. Man, honestly, the thing that I would say for me, take your shot. You've got opportunities in front of you. Take your shot. Make the most of it. Do something. Let my story, let Jace's story impact you. Take that and do something with it. Go and make a difference in your world, in your town. You go impact the world. Use that as your motivation. I remember sitting down with Jace in the hospital and telling him, hey, there's a suggestion you have another surgery. And we talked to him about this, and this surgery is different than the last one. You're familiar with this type of surgery. This time it's a full sternotomy, open chest. And it's a gruesome surgery, man. And I'm like, I can't make you do this, you know? Like, it's your body, man. It's your life. Like, I don't want to make you do this, but this is what they're suggesting. This is what they think can get you better. So, what do you think? And like, without hesitation, he's like, I'll do it. And I'm like, well, I prepared for this conversation for like a few hours. I'm crying, I'm rehearsing it. I ask everybody to leave so I can sit down with them, you know, mom, everybody. So I want to sit down and have this father-son talk. And he's like, I'll do it. I'll do the surgery. And I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, why? And he goes, because this sucks. And I was just like, so proud of him in that moment, because, you know, pain's a great motivator, you know? And he's able to just see that, like, I'm willing to take a shot. I'm willing to do something about this. It's not going to be easy, you know? It's not what I want to do, but like, if I got a shot, I'll take it. I'll do it, because this sucks. And I want something different. I want something more. And that's what I want to see. I want to see people make the most of what's in front of them. I want to see people use what's in their past, use what challenges they're going through right now, use what difficulties they're going through right now, use that, you know, that dark and checkered past. Look at me, you know? Like, if anybody could do this, you know? Like, if I can do this, anybody can do this. Look at what we've been through and just realize what you're capable of.
After a show like that, I think the only thing that I can do is give an encouragement for prayers for Jansen, his family, his wife, their kids, and everything that's going to be going on with Jace in the future. So depending on when you listen to this, I have no idea where he'll be in his journey, but hopefully he's in recovery. The family's doing amazing. But right now, I would love for you guys to pray for Jansen McClendon and his family and his son Jace and everything that they're going through. I've been through a lot with my son James, and I know how hard it can be. So I know that it would mean a ton to them if you guys would say a few prayers for them. And as always, I would love to see you inside of our investing community, whether that's Runway or Altitude, and spend time with people just like Jansen that are just pushing and pushing and pushing to build an amazing life, build a better business, and everything that comes along with it. And if you're going through something hard right now, there's a community out there that can help you. I would love to invite you into ours. And all that information is at sevenfigureflipping.com. Have a great day. I'll see you on the next show.